High above the stormy skies of Rev X9, the fleet of 30 human dreadnoughts moved into perfect formation. They looked like floating mountains of steel, their hulls glowing softly under the planet's deadly lightning storms. Each ship carried thousands of crew, machines, and hearts beating with one purpose: rescue. Inside the flagship HMS Titan, Admiral Elias Vance stood tall before the panoramic bridge window. Lightning danced across the planet below, but his focus was calm and sharp. Around him, officers worked quickly, voices low but steady. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Mara Quinn, who had first discovered the signal. "Ground Team Alpha has made contact with the source. They've located a beacon inside old human ruins. But there's movement below the surface." Vance turned toward the holographic map floating in the air. A pulsing blue dot marked the landing site while red waves spread beneath it. Seismic readings, deep and irregular. "Movement," he repeated slowly. "Is it mechanical or biological?" "Unknown, sir," replied Quinn, "but it's big." "Very big," the Admiral nodded once. "Send additional recon drones. Keep the dreadnoughts in low orbit, shields at full strength. No one's dying down there. Not today." Down on the surface, Commander Alara Chen and her team sheltered inside the half-collapsed ruins. The ground had stopped shaking, but the air buzzed with tension. The ancient beacon flickered behind them, casting a pale blue light over their helmets. Alara crouched near a crack in the glass floor and stared down. Something glowed faintly below, orange like molten metal. "This place isn't empty," she said softly. One of her soldiers, Private Imani, swallowed nervously. "Ma'am, do you think it's a living thing?" "I don't know," she answered. "But if it's been here this long, it's part of what this planet used to be." They moved deeper into the ruins, finding broken terminals, faded markings, and pieces of machinery covered in dust and ash. The writing on the walls was human, English, but so old it looked almost ancient. Some of it was worn away, but one sentence remained clear. "Project Atlas, core containment." "Atlas?" Ilara whispered. That name again. The signal had carried the same code, Atlas Sequence 42. Whoever had sent it wanted someone to find this place. She activated her comms. "Admiral, we found signs of a project called Atlas. Looks like it was human-made, maybe centuries ago." "Understood," came Vance's steady reply. "Proceed with caution. We're tracking deep seismic activity under your position. If anything moves, we'll provide support from orbit." Ilara smiled faintly behind her helmet. "Copy that, Admiral. Good to know you're watching over us." Meanwhile, across the fleet, the crews worked like one body. Engineers adjusted reactor flows. Navigation officers calculated orbits through magnetic storms, and communication techs struggled to keep contact stable through the interference. In the HMS Aurora, Captain Rhea Solis watched her crew with quiet pride. "You know," she said to her first officer, "when the galaxy sees this, they'll remember that humans never ignore a call for help, even from a world that wants to eat them." Her officer grinned. "We don't do easy missions, Captain. That's not our style." Outside the ship's massive viewing deck, lightning wrapped around the hull like living fire. The dreadnought held steady, shields flaring each time the energy struck. Its engines hummed softly, a calm heartbeat in the middle of chaos. The message from Earth echoed through every ship's intercom. "You are not alone. Humanity is with you." Back on the ground, Alara's team reached what looked like a sealed chamber door. The metal was thick, covered in symbols and warning lights that still blinked weakly after all these years. Her engineer scanned it. "Still powered, Commander. Whatever's behind here is running on its own system." Alara nodded. "Open it carefully." The door hissed, slowly sliding open. A rush of cold air swept past them, carrying a faint humming sound. The room beyond was circular, filled with strange machinery and cables running into the floor. At the center stood a large metallic sphere, suspended by glowing supports. "It's beautiful," Imani whispered. Alara stepped closer. "This must be Atlas." The moment she touched the sphere, her helmet display flickered. A gentle synthetic voice spoke through the static. "Human presence detected." Authentication expired. Initiating emergency dialogue, Alara froze. "You're alive?" "I am Atlas," the voice replied calmly. "You have answered the call. The core is unstable. Containment failing. The world is waking up." The entire structure shuddered. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Admiral Vance," Ilara shouted into her comm. We've made contact with an artificial intelligence. It's human-made. It says something about containment failure. Understood, came Vance's voice through heavy static. We'll prepare orbital support. Get your team back to the surface, Commander. We're not losing anyone. On the HMS Titan, the atmosphere changed. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the ship's alert systems activated. The main display showed tremors spreading rapidly under Ravex 9's crust. What's causing that? Asked Lieutenant Quinn. The science officer replied, It's like something under the planet is moving, not just magma flow. It's organized, like an engine waking up. Vance's eyes narrowed. An engine? Yes, sir. A massive one. It could be ancient technology buried deep inside the planet. The AI might have been containing it. Vance didn't hesitate. Signal the fleet. Begin defensive alignment. If anything comes out of that planet, we stop it. Across the fleet, Dreadnought shifted position, surrounding Ravex 9 in a vast defensive circle. Their hulls reflected lightning like stars, forming a shield around the world. Ilara and her team ran through the shaking tunnels as the ground rumbled. The once dead base came alive with lights flickering in every corridor. The beacon behind them flashed faster and faster as if reacting to something. Atlas! Ilara shouted as they moved. What's happening? The AI's voice followed through their comms, calm but urgent. Core containment is collapsing. The structure beneath this planet is activating. Leave immediately. They reached the surface just as a bright light erupted from the ground miles away. A massive column of molten rock and energy shot into the sky, splitting the storm clouds. Ilara's pilot yelled, We need to take off now. The dropship lifted from the ground, shaking violently as debris rained around them. Ilara looked down through the viewport. Huge cracks spread across the black glass desert, glowing from within. Something was indeed waking up beneath the surface. Back in orbit, sensors went wild. Energy levels from the planet's core spiked higher than anything recorded in human history. Admiral, the readings are off the charts, reported Quinn. It's like a reactor 10 times larger than a Dreadnought is powering up down there. Vance watched the readings calmly. Then we'll be ready for it. He activated the fleet-wide channel. His voice echoed across 30 ships. This is Admiral Vance. We are witnessing something no one in this galaxy has ever seen. Remember why we came here? To answer a call for help. Whatever happens, we protect our people. We stand together. Dreadnoughts never run. The crews cheered quietly, their fear replaced by pride and determination. As the ships held formation, the surface of Ravex 9 cracked open. Massive structures began to rise from the molten ground. Towers of ancient metal, shaped like the bones of a forgotten civilization. Energy arcs danced between them, connecting to form a web of power that stretched across the horizon. On board the Titan, Quinn whispered, It's like the planet itself is a machine. Maybe it is, said Vance, and we just turned it on. Meanwhile, the alien observers from nearby systems sent frantic messages. The Galactic Council was in panic. 30 human dreadnoughts are surrounding a death world, one report said. We don't know what they're doing, but sensors show massive energy spikes. Could they be attacking it? An old Varan scholar watched the transmission and shook his head. No, he said softly. They are protecting something. Only humans would answer a call from a cursed world and stay to guard it. As the storm intensified, the fleet's lights glowed through the darkness. The dreadnoughts formed a shining wall around the raging planet, silent, unyielding, and ready. Inside the Titan, Vance gave his final order for the night. Maintain position. Rescue teams will return at dawn cycle. Whatever lies beneath that world, we will face it together. He turned to the viewing window. Lightning reflected in his eyes as the planet roared below. For a moment, the Admiral allowed himself a small smile. You called for help, he said softly. And we came. The skies of Ravex 9 were no longer just stormy. They were alive. Bolts of green lightning danced through purple clouds, lighting up the broken surface below. The ground cracked like shattered glass, and rivers of molten rock burned through the darkness. High above, the human dreadnought fleet floated in formation, 30 giants of steel and fire watching over the angry planet. From orbit, they looked calm, but inside the crews could feel the tension building like the charge before a storm. On board the HMS Titan, Admiral Vance stood quietly as data streamed across the bridge displays. The room was filled with low voices, the hum of machinery and the steady pulse of the ship's heart. Admiral, said Lieutenant Quinn, our sensors confirm massive movement under the planet's crust. It's spreading outward. Something mechanical, not natural. Vance frowned. How deep? About 60 kilometers below the surface, sir. Whatever it is, it's huge. Vance looked out the viewing window at the swirling planet below. And Commander Chen's team? Returning to orbit now, Quinn replied. They're aboard their dropship and ascending through heavy turbulence. Good, Vance said. We'll need her report before we decide our next move. Down in the atmosphere, Commander Alara Chen and her team fought their way through chaos. The dropship shook violently as it rose through storm clouds and magnetic bursts. Lightning flashed all around, glowing blue and green against the ship's metal hull. The pilot shouted, "We're almost through!" Shields are holding, but this storm's not natural. It's being pulled by something beneath us. Alara held onto a side rail, looking through the viewport. The desert below was splitting open, and she saw flashes of metal inside the glowing cracks. Long, curved shapes that looked like the edges of buried machines. What did we wake up? She whispered to herself. Minutes later, the dropship broke through the cloud layer and reached the waiting Dreadnought. The docking clamps locked with a loud thud, and the crew stepped out, covered in dust and exhaustion. Admiral Vance was already waiting at the airlock. "Commander," he said. "Report." Alara removed her helmet. "Sir, we made contact with something. An AI calling itself Atlas. It's human-made, but very old. It said it was containing something under the planet. That containment has failed." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Containing what, exactly?" Alara shook her head. "It didn't say. But whatever it was holding back is moving now. The whole planet's alive, Admiral." For a moment, no one spoke. The bridge lights flickered slightly as another surge of energy rippled from the planet. Then Vance straightened. "Get some rest, Commander. You and your team have done enough for now. We'll handle the rest." Hours passed, but the fleet didn't sleep. The human dreadnoughts orbited closely, scanning and studying the strange activity. Energy readings continued to climb, higher than any starship reactor could produce. On the HMS Aurora, Captain Solis paced along her deck. "All sensors are at full capacity," she said to her science officer. "Tell me what we're seeing." "It's difficult to describe," he replied, staring at his screen. "The planet's core isn't just molten rock anymore. It's changing shape. Large structures are forming under the crust, symmetrical like an engine or a reactor. But the energy patterns are artificial." "Artificial?" Solis repeated. "Then someone built this world." The science officer nodded slowly. "Or used it for something long ago." Meanwhile, in the Titan's war room, holographic displays showed the fleet's position around the planet. Bright circles represented dreadnoughts, while the planet glowed with red lines of seismic activity. Lieutenant Quinn pointed at the readings. "Admiral, the core activity is expanding. Energy output has increased by 200% in the last hour." Vance folded his arms. "It's feeding on something." Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed and the hull shuddered. Everyone turned toward the viewing window. Below them, a massive column of light burst through the clouds, reaching all the way into space. It was bright enough to blind sensors and overload half the displays. "Shield overload on multiple ships," Quinn shouted. Vance gripped the railing. "Hold position. No one fires until we understand what we're dealing with." The light continued for several minutes, then faded slowly. When the glare vanished, the crew could finally see what had caused it. Rising from the planet's surface was something enormous, larger than any city, shaped like a spear or a tower, made of dark ancient metal. Lightning wrapped around it like veins of fire. Quinn whispered, "What is that?" The science officer looked pale. "It's a ship, Admiral. A ship buried inside the planet. And it's waking up." The news spread quickly through the fleet. Every dreadnought adjusted position, preparing defensive measures. Fighters launched into orbit, forming patrol lines between the dreadnoughts and the strange rising structure. Admiral Vance opened a channel to all ships. His voice echoed calmly through every speaker. "This is Admiral Vance. The object rising from the planet is not human. It may be a weapon or a ship or something else entirely, but no one panics. We came here to save lives. That hasn't changed. We protect our crews, we protect our world, and we stand together. Dreadnoughts never run." Cheers and firm replies echoed across the comms. "Aye, sir." Down on the planet, the AI known as Atlas watched the awakening. Its flickering core glowed brighter as systems rebooted around it. It had waited centuries for this moment, for humans to return. "Containment has failed," Atlas said to itself in its soft, artificial tone. The warden is waking. Inside the newly risen structure, massive gears turned. A low hum spread across the planet, deep and powerful. The air trembled, and strange lights pulsed from the cracks in the surface. Atlas connected to the human fleet's signal, its voice reaching the Titan's bridge once more. Admiral Vance, you must listen carefully. What you are seeing is not a ship. It is a warden construct. An ancient machine built by the first civilization to defend this planet. It was never meant to awaken again. Vance replied. Defend it from what? From itself, Atlas said. The world beneath is not just alive, then it is dangerous. The warden was meant to contain the core's power. But now its purpose is broken. It will see you as a threat. Can we shut it down? Vance asked. There is a chance, the AI answered. Its command codes are human compatible, but you must reach the central spire before it connects to the planet's energy core. Vance turned to his officers. Prep a new landing team. Commander Chen will lead. We're going back down. The dropships launched again, diving through lightning and fire. Commander Chen stood at the front, determination in her eyes. The planet below glowed like a living furnace, but she didn't flinch. Her pilot shouted over the noise. Commander, the spire's growing fast. It's already kilometers high, Chen replied. Then we land near its base before it stabilizes. Move. The ship pierced the lower clouds and descended toward the ground. The spire towered above them now, its surface covered in strange carvings that glowed blue. Huge mechanical limbs extended from its base, anchoring it to the cracked ground. The dropship landed hard. The team rushed out, weapons drawn but held low. They could feel the heat of the air through their armor. The ground vibrated with a deep, steady pulse, the heartbeat of the planet itself. Chen looked up at the towering structure. Let's find a way in. They climbed over debris and followed glowing lines that led to an entrance. The door opened automatically as they approached, as if the structure recognized them. Inside, everything was silent. The air was cool and the walls shone faintly. Strange machines lined the corridor, covered in dust but still active. Atlas, Chen said through her comm. We're inside the structure. The AI's voice came softly. Good, you must reach the command core. It is above you, follow the energy flow. But hurry, the warden systems are coming online. Above the planet, the fleet held its line. Admiral, Quinn said urgently, the structure is charging energy. It's pulling power from the planet's core. Can we stop it? Vance asked. Not from here, sir. The surface team's our only chance, Vance nodded slowly. Then we hold the sky while they fight the ground. The Dreadnought spread their wings of steel and light, shielding the world below. They looked like a wall of guardians against the storm. Lightning flashed again, but this time it wasn't natural. It came from the spire. Blue arcs shot into space, striking near the ships. Evasive maneuvers. Quinn shouted. Vance held the rail firmly. Hold formation. We don't fire unless fired upon. The spire's glow intensified, lighting the dark side of the planet like a sunrise. The humans on the surface ran deeper into the structure, guided by Atlas's voice. Every second counted. As the fleet braced itself for what was coming, Admiral Vance whispered, You wanted to see what humans do when someone calls for help? You're about to find out. The storm above Ravix 9 had become a nightmare. Thick clouds rolled like waves, flashing with lightning that split the sky. From orbit, the fleet could see the chaos. Electric tempests, volcanic eruptions, and oceans boiling under endless pressure. Every few seconds, huge bursts of plasma shot into the air. It was a death world in every sense. Admiral Vance stood on the command bridge of the Dreadnought Horizon's edge, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Report, he ordered calmly. Admiral, said Lieutenant Kara, Ground Team Alpha is still moving through the ruins. The atmosphere is unstable. Communication interference is increasing. Vance nodded. Keep the channels open. No one gets left behind down there. The rest of the fleet stayed in formation, engines ready. The giant ships glowed faintly under the storms, their energy shields rippling. Every captain knew what kind of world they were facing, but none turned away. Humans didn't back down from a rescue. Not even here. Down below, Commander Alara Chen and her team moved carefully through the ash-covered ruins of the old human base. The wind roared around them, carrying sparks of lightning across the blackened ground. Every step was dangerous. Alara, said Sergeant Dane, watching the scanner. We're close. The signal's getting stronger. The team followed the faint signal until they reached a massive metal door half buried in volcanic rock. The faded Terran emblem was still visible, a circle of stars surrounding Earth. "This is it," Alara whispered. "This is where the signal came from." They cleared the debris, forced the door open, and stepped inside. The air was stale, and emergency lights flickered weakly after decades of darkness. Dust floated in the air like mist. As they moved deeper, they found signs of life, or what once was life. Rusted tools, data tablets, and broken suits lay scattered everywhere. Then they found it, a central chamber still powered. At the center stood a tall cylindrical core, humming faintly. A holographic eye flickered open. "Identity confirmed. Human genetic code detected," said a mechanical voice. "Designation Atlas 07, Research AI." Alara stepped forward. "Atlas, you sent the distress signal?" The AI paused, its lights flickering like it was thinking. "Affirmative. My creators left me to monitor planetary core activity. I have maintained my function for 183 years. Recently, something beneath the planet began to move. I calculated 89.7% chance of planetary destruction if left unchecked, so I sent a distress signal." Alara exchanged a look with Dane. "What is moving down there?" Before the AI could answer, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling and the lights flickered red. "Warning," said Atlas. "Surface activity detected. Hostile entities approaching." Above, in orbit, alarms screamed across every dreadnought. "Multiple large heat signatures rising from the planet's crust," shouted the sensor officer. "They're alive!" Through the dark clouds, giant shadows began to emerge. Enormous biomechanical creatures glowing with red and blue veins of energy. They looked like serpents of molten steel, their eyes burning like suns. "Target lock," said Captain Aaron of the Dreadnought Vanguard. "These things are climbing straight into orbit." "Engage," came Admiral Vance's calm reply. The first dreadnought fired. A railgun shell the size of a shuttle tore through the clouds, striking one of the creatures and exploding in a burst of plasma. The monster roared, its body coiling like a living storm, and struck back, releasing a beam of energy that slammed into Vanguard's shields. Every ship opened fire. Blue bolts of plasma streaked through the black clouds, followed by missile volleys that lit up the sky like fireworks. The creatures roared and twisted, their wings slicing through the air. For every one that fell, another seemed to rise from the planet. It was chaos. It was war. And still, humanity stood its ground. On the surface, Alara and her team fought to stay alive as tremors cracked the ground open. Steam burst from the earth and glowing veins of lava spilled into the corridors. "Alara," Dane shouted. "We have to move." "The base won't hold." "Not yet," she said. "Atlas, what are those creatures?" "They are the planetary guardians," Atlas replied. "They were built by the ancient race that once ruled this world. Their task is to protect the core, the true heart of Ravex 9 and what's in the core." The AI hesitated, then said, "Something that should not exist. Something that is waking." Another quake hit, throwing everyone to the ground. Alara grabbed the AI core, locking it to her suit. "We're taking you with us." They raced through collapsing tunnels as the base exploded behind them. Outside, the world looked like it was ending. Lightning, lava, and fire everywhere. A ship descended through the storm, a small human transport from the fleet. "This is Dropship Delta 4. Commander 10, we've got visual on you. Move." Alara's team sprinted through the chaos. Lava splashed around them and a giant creature rose nearby, its red eyes glowing. The dropship's guns opened fire, drawing its attention away just long enough for the humans to leap aboard. "Go, go," Alara yelled. The dropship soared back into the stormy sky, leaving the burning ruins below. In orbit, the battle raged on. Dreadnoughts fired continuously, their shields glowing under heavy hits. The creatures were massive, each one hundreds of meters long, but humans fought with precision and courage. "Admiral," called Kara. "Surface team is aboard Delta 4. They have the AI core." "Good," said Vance. "Tell the fleet to focus fire on the largest target. Let's clear a path." The dreadnoughts formed a tight formation. They fired in unison, unleashing a combined wave of destruction that tore through the leading creature, splitting it apart. The explosion was so bright that it lit the planet's dark side for several seconds. But then, the ground itself began to move. From the heart of the planet, a deep mechanical roar echoed through space. Energy readings spiked beyond anything known. "Admiral," whispered Kara. "Something's coming up from the core." The holographic display flickered with the image of a gigantic structure rising from Ravex 9's mantle. Not alive, but built. It was an ancient warship miles wide, forged in unknown metal, glowing with red energy lines. Atlas's voice came through the fleet's comms, his tone urgent. That is what I feared. The core structure is activating. It predates this world. It is not of human origin. If it reaches full power, it will consume the system. Vance took a deep breath. Then we stop it here. As the alien warship rose from the planet, it unleashed a pulse of energy that struck the fleet. Alarms blared across every ship as shields dropped and systems overloaded. "Hold formation," shouted Vance. "Reroute power! Target the core." Missiles streaked through the atmosphere, followed by heavy railgun rounds. The warship's armor cracked but didn't break. It fired back. Energy beams slicing through space, grazing one of the smaller cruisers. Inside the Dreadnought Horizon's edge, sparks flew as consoles exploded. "Damage on decks 3 through 6, a voice shouted. Vance steadied himself. "Keep firing. Humanity doesn't retreat," every ship obeyed. They didn't run, didn't hide, and they stood together. The combined might of 30 dreadnoughts filled the void with fire. Below, the alien ship trembled under the assault. Its energy shield flickered. Atlas's voice came through again. "One more concentrated strike will destabilize its core." Vance raised his hand. "All dreadnoughts prepare full power discharge. Target the enemy core. On my mark." The storm raged, the planet cracked, and every ship charged its main cannon. Mark. The void turned white. The combined shot of the fleet pierced through the alien warship's core, exploding in a blinding light. The shock wave rolled across the surface, scattering clouds and shaking mountains. When the light faded, the alien ship was gone, shattered and sinking back into the planet's molten heart. Silence followed. Then cheers echoed through every human ship. Ilara watched from her dropship as the dreadnoughts formed back into formation, their hulls glowing in the light of victory. She looked at the AI core in her hands. "It's over, Atlas." "For now," the AI replied softly. "But you have saved more than a planet. You have saved the galaxy from what sleeps below." As the human fleet turned away from the burning world, the stars glimmered beyond the storms. Humanity had once again proven what they were made of: courage, unity, and the will to protect. Even in the darkest corner of the universe, their answer to a call for help was the same: send the dreadnoughts. The storms of Ravex 9 had finally calmed, leaving behind a scarred planet glowing with molten cracks. The once dead world had awakened, revealing its secrets and its dangers, yet humanity's fleet remained in formation above it. Vigilant, 30 human dreadnoughts floated like giants in the void, their engines humming with quiet power, their shields still flickering from the aftershocks of battle. Inside the flagship HMS Titan, Admiral Elias Vance stood on the command bridge watching the planet below. His eyes reflected the molten scars and the towering ruins left by the conflict. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara Quinn scanned the last energy readings. "The alien ship is gone, sir," Quinn reported. "Energy readings are dropping. The planet is stabilizing." Vance nodded. "Good, keep monitoring. I want confirmation before we declare this safe." "Commander Chen, status on the surface?" Ilara's voice came through the comms. "All units accounted for. The AI core is secured. Atlas reports no further instability at this time." Vance exhaled. Then humanity has answered the call. On the surface, Commander Chen walked with Atlas beside her, the AI projecting a soft blue light across the cracked desert. The team moved cautiously, surveying the ruins of the alien structure that had risen from the planet's core. "Unbelievable," murmured Sergeant Dane. "I've seen a lot in my career, but nothing like this," Ilara nodded. "It's more than just a structure. This was a weapon. Or maybe a guardian. Atlas says it predates our civilization." The AI's voice responded gently. "It is a warden construct, designed to contain the planet's core energy. Without intervention, it would have destroyed everything in orbit and possibly beyond. Your species' actions prevented catastrophe." One of the soldiers, Private Imani, looked up at the sky, now calm and purple with faint glows from the remaining energy vents. "So, we really did it?" Ilara smiled faintly. "Yes, but the job isn't over. We need to ensure Ravex 9 stays stable and recover what we can." In orbit, the fleet began scanning the planet for remaining dangers. Engineers on each dreadnought worked tirelessly to recalibrate shields and reactors. Pilots patrolled the upper atmosphere, ensuring nothing remained in the sky that could harm the fleet or the surface team. Captain Rhea Solis of the dreadnought Aurora monitored her sensors closely, Admiral, readings indicate the planetary core is returning to normal levels. No further anomalous activity detected. Good, Vance replied. We will hold position until the team confirms the surface is secure. Once that's done, we bring Atlas aboard for analysis. This AI knows more about the planet than any of us. The crew quietly marveled at the destruction and recovery below. Ravex 9 had almost taken everything, yet humans had answered its challenge with skill, courage, and unity. Meanwhile, on the planet, Alara's team approached the remains of the alien warship. It had been shattered in the Dreadnought's combined attack, its massive hull sunk partially into molten rock. Sparks and smoke rose from broken sections and strange energy fields pulsed slowly from exposed machinery. Atlas, Ilara asked, what happens if this structure fully reactivates? The AI's holographic eye glimmered. It would attempt to harness the planet's core energy entirely, likely resulting in planetary destruction. Its defensive protocols would target anything in orbit. Your species' intervention prevented this outcome. Then, let's make sure it stays that way, said Ilara. Her team began deploying stabilization drones and monitoring devices to observe residual energy activity. Atlas coordinated the efforts, analyzing data and suggesting adjustments. Slowly, the planet's ground began to cool, and the glowing fissures receded. Above, the fleet prepared for extraction. Dropships descended, bringing personnel and equipment from the surface back to the dreadnoughts. Human engineers moved efficiently, repairing drones and recalibrating sensors. Every crew member knew the importance of what they had accomplished. Admiral Vance walked along the command bridge of the Titan, speaking quietly to Lieutenant Quinn. You understand what this means, don't you? He said. Quinn nodded. The galaxy will see this. Humans didn't just answer a call for help. We went to a death world, faced an ancient power, and survived. Entire civilizations might take notice. Vance smiled faintly. They should. But more importantly, we proved something to ourselves. Humanity doesn't abandon its own. No matter the danger, no matter the odds. Down on Ravex 9, Atlas continued to monitor the planetary core. Its calculations confirmed that the energy had stabilized. The Warden construct, while damaged, was no longer a threat. You've given this world a chance to survive, Atlas said, and humanity has shown courage beyond what even my programming anticipated. Ilara glanced at her team. It wasn't just courage. It was teamwork. We relied on each other, the fleet relied on us, and we relied on you. That's why we succeeded. Atlas paused, acknowledged. I will continue monitoring and guide future stabilization if necessary. Your species has earned a measure of trust that even the planet itself respects. Ilara smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride and relief. As the final extraction began, the dreadnoughts aligned in formation above the planet. One by one, the surface team was brought aboard, and Atlas was uploaded to the Titan's central AI systems for further study. Admiral, said Captain Solis, all teams accounted for. Ravex 9 is secure for now. Vance looked down at the glowing cracks of the death world, now calm and dim. Then it's time to leave. Humanity has answered. Let the galaxy see what we do when someone calls for help. The fleet activated its engines. The stars stretched into lines as the dreadnoughts jumped into FTL, leaving Ravex 9 behind. From orbit, the planet looked quiet now, a dark jewel in the void recovering from its violent awakening. Across the galaxy, sensors and observers took note. Aliens who had doubted humans now whispered in astonishment. The humans, they sent an entire fleet to a death world, one ambassador said, and they succeeded. They don't seek conquest, another added. They fight to save lives, and when they fight, they win. The whispers spread, and slowly the legend of humanity's courage grew. Back on the Titan, Admiral Vance addressed the crew. Today you have proven the core of what makes humanity great. Courage, intelligence, and the will to protect one another. You faced a death world, an ancient power, and overwhelming odds, and you succeeded. Not because we are the strongest, but because we do not abandon those in need. Cheers echoed through the ship. Across the fleet, crew members exchanged proud glances, knowing that they had taken part in something extraordinary. Ilara looked out at the stars, the remnants of the death world fading into the distance. She whispered to herself, "You called for help." And humanity came. Atlas's voice joined her thoughts softly. And humanity will always answer the call. Always. Weeks later, the fleet returned to human space. Ravex 9 faded into legend, A warning to some, a tale of courage to others. Scientists and engineers studied the data from Atlas, learning secrets of ancient technology and planetary defense. But the humans themselves did not boast. They repaired their ships, debriefed their crews, and quietly returned to their routines. To them it was not glory, it was duty. Yet across the galaxy, civilization spoke of the human dreadnoughts that answered a call from the edge of death. Stories spread in trading hubs, council chambers, and schools of every species. The story was the same everywhere. When humanity hears a cry for help, it does not hesitate. It does not calculate the risk for selfish gain. It comes, it fights, it protects, it survives, and it always leaves behind one message: no one is abandoned. No call goes unanswered. Humans always answer. In the cold darkness of space, the human dreadnought fleet moved on, ready for the next call, because wherever there was need, wherever someone cried out, humanity would go. The galaxy had learned a truth that day. Humans were not just another species. Humans were guardians, and the dreadnoughts were their promise. The Galactic Council had existed for more than 10,000 years. It was formed by the oldest and most intelligent species in the known universe. For centuries, they had ruled the stars with calm order, believing there were no mysteries left to fear. But that illusion ended the day the signal arrived. It came from beyond the borders of mapped space, an area known only as the Silent Expanse. This region had always been quiet, untouched, and avoided by explorers because of strange readings that confused even the most advanced sensors. When the new signal appeared, the Council thought it was just another background pulse from an ancient star. But soon the data told a different story. The signal repeated every few minutes. It carried rhythm and structure, proof that it was made by intelligence, not by nature. It wasn't a random transmission. It was a message. In the high halls of the Galactic Council, the delegates of dozens of species gathered. Each representative floated or sat within their chambers, connected through holographic projectors. The air buzzed with curiosity and unease. "The origin point is outside any known route," said Terrene, a tall Vereen scientist whose eyes shimmered with silver light. "We have traced it to a dead sector 40 light-years past the Ekron belt. No colonies, no stations, no active beacons. Yet the signal continues, and its content," asked Chairwoman Lyriel of the Vasai, whose species had led the council for over 2 millennia. Terrene took a breath. "It is difficult to describe. It is a form of binary communication, but old, primitive. However, after translation and analysis, the signal says this: distress beacon active. Titan-class vessel, designation Rhesus. Crew unresponsive, awaiting human command." The chamber fell silent. For a moment, no one dared to speak. The word human had not been heard in the council chambers for hundreds of years. The humans were legends now. Stories told to younglings to explain why certain areas of space remained untraveled. According to ancient records, humanity had vanished after the Orion Wars, taking their colonies, fleets, and technology with them. Many believed they had destroyed themselves. Others whispered they had gone beyond the galactic rim. Whatever the truth, their disappearance was final. Or so everyone thought. Chairwoman Lyriel broke the silence. "Are you certain it said human?" "Yes, Chairwoman," Terrene confirmed softly. Old Terran script, unmistakable. The counselors began murmuring among themselves. Words like impossible, extinct, and artifact echoed in the chamber. Fear mingled with curiosity. The humans had once been a species of rapid innovation, unpredictable emotions, and unmatched courage. But they were also known for their weapons, the kind that could reshape entire star systems. A smaller delegate from the insectoid Kreen tapped his thin claws nervously. "Perhaps it is a false signal. A remnant of a forgotten machine. Or a trap," hissed another from the scaled Relak race. The humans were not above deception. Chairwoman Lyriel raised a hand for silence. "Speculation will not guide us. We will send an investigation team. If there is a surviving vessel, it must be studied. If the humans are truly gone, their technology should not be left to drift." The decision was made. A week later, a fleet of 6 ships, 3 explorers, 2 science vessels, and 1 armed escort departed from the nearest outpost. They were led by Captain Voran, a Vereen officer known for his bravery and precision. His crew was composed of many species, each trained for deep space anomalies. The journey took 12 days. As they entered the silent expanse, space grew darker, colder. Their instruments began to fail one after another, as if something unseen was pulling the energy from their systems. Then they saw it. At first, it looked like a small moon, its metallic surface reflecting distant starlight. But as they drew closer, the shape became clearer. A vast ship thousands of kilometers long, wrapped in dark plating and silent engines. The hull bore scars of old battles, yet it floated perfectly stable as if waiting. A faint glow shimmered across one side. Through magnification, the crew read the letters carved into the metal: HSS Rhesus, Titan-class human dreadnought. A hush filled the observation deck. One of the younger officers whispered, "It's real." Captain Voren could not take his eyes off it. "A human warship," he said quietly, "still intact after centuries." The science team began scanning, but every attempt returned static. The ship's shielding was impenetrable, even though its power levels appeared near zero. It was like scanning a black hole. Information went in, but nothing came back. "Captain," said Tareen through the comms, "I have never seen material density like this. It's absorbing our scans. It's almost alive." "Alive?" Voren asked. "Not biologically," Tareen replied, "but it's reacting. It knows we're looking at it." Those words sent a shiver through the crew. A sense of being watched filled the bridge, though the ship remained completely still. Finally, the exploration fleet decided to deploy drones. Small metallic spheres launched from the escort ship, gliding silently toward the Rhesus. As they crossed the outer hull boundary, the drone's signals flickered. "Receiving interference," said the comm officer, adjusting frequency. Then all screens went black. For several long seconds, there was only silence. The crew waited anxiously, hearts pounding. Then the screens lit up again, but the feed was not from their drones. It was from the Rhesus itself. A deep blue light spread across its hull, illuminating thousands of hidden panels. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable limits. Engines that had been cold for centuries began to hum softly like distant thunder. "Power surge," shouted Tareen. "It's activating." Before anyone could react, a voice filled every comm channel, vibrating through their ships, through the air, even through their bones. "Unidentified vessels detected. This is Titan-class Rhesus of the Human Strategic Fleet. State your identity." No one spoke. The crew stared in horror and awe. The voice was deep, calm, and impossibly powerful. "Scanning." Foreign biosigns confirmed. "Non-human origin. Warning. This is a restricted vessel under human command authority." Captain Voren tried to respond. "This is Captain Voren of the Vereen Science Division. We mean no harm. We found your distress beacon and came to investigate." There was silence, then a faint sound almost like breathing through machinery. "Investigation. Acknowledged. But unauthorized entry is prohibited. Access denied." The fleet's comms crackled. Every system began rebooting itself as if another intelligence had taken control. The Rhesus was inside their networks, reading their data, watching their every move. "Captain, it's inside our system," cried the tech officer. "It's controlling our ship." "Shut it down," Voren ordered. But it was useless. The Rhesus' power dwarfed anything they had. Even their shields flickered under the unseen pressure of its energy field. Then suddenly everything went quiet again. All ships powered down completely. No lights, no gravity, no sound. Only the stars remained, shining coldly through the viewing windows. And then came one final message, soft but clear, echoing across the void. "Humanity sleeps no longer." The Rhesus' engines roared to life. Waves of energy rippled across space as the massive ship began to move, slowly turning toward the stars beyond the expanse. Its movements were graceful, deliberate, like a giant awakening after a long dream. The alien crews watched in silence as the Titan passed them. No weapons were fired, no threats made. Yet every heart on those ships trembled with fear. For the first time in ages, the galaxy remembered what it was like to feel small. When the Council received the report, panic spread through every system. If a single human warship could awaken after centuries and move like that, what would happen if there were more? And deep in the cold darkness of space, the Rhesus continued its journey, searching for something lost, something ancient. Perhaps searching for humans themselves.